A report released this afternoon from the New Orleans Inspector General slams Orleans Parish Sheriff Susan Hutson and her administration for booking luxury apartments in the French Quarter during Mardi Gras for OPSO senior staff.
As David Jones tells us, the report notes the majority of the hotel rooms went unused.
They're public funds. These aren't personal dollars. If you're going to spend public funds, it has to be for a legitimate public purpose.
The report from Orleans Inspector General Ed Michel shines a light on what it frames as, quote, wasteful and unnecessary spending of public dollars on hotel rooms for 13 high-ranking OPSO staff.
This is a perk and not a legitimate public purpose.
The rooms were at the Omni Royal Orleans Hotel, a luxury hotel on St. Louis and Royal, directly across from the Louisiana Supreme Court building. In the report, Michelle said the sheriff's office spent more than $18,000 booking 90 individual stays in total, called room nights. Of those 90 room nights, though, a total of 37 nights were actually used, meaning the sheriff's office spent more than $11,000 on unused rooms, a 41% occupancy rate.
So what about the rest of the deputies that actually had to march along the parade route? They had to drive home after working the parade. They weren't concerned about that.
Rafael Goyeneche is president of the Metropolitan Crime Commission.
What the sheriff did was a violation of the cooperative endeavor agreement that she signed with the city. And this was an improper use of public funds.
In the report, Michelle points to records subpoenaed from the Omni Hotel and interviews conducted with several of the OPSO employees on the hotel list. Several of the employees interviewed told investigators they did not believe the rooms were needed in the first place or for the duration for which they were reserved. The majority interviewed told investigators it was Assistant Sheriff Kristen Morales' decision to reserve the rooms. Morales was one of only 2 employees who stayed at the hotel for the duration of the times rooms had been reserved. Morales was phased out of her position, leaving OPSO on July 31st.
It's fairly obvious that it is an inappropriate use of the sheriff's office resources.
Hutson initially defended the decision, but after public scrutiny, announced a dog training business in Vermilion Parish, LA Canine, had donated funds to cover the cost. But LA Canine later backed out, with the owners saying the donation could affect future business with the OPSO.
He realized the owner of LA Canine is that that's a violation of the state ethics laws. So he backs out of the initial agreement, and now the sheriff has to scramble to look for another explanation as to how to justify spending this money.
It's still public money, and the object of the game is to spend public money wisely.
Fox 8 legal analyst Joe Responti.
In a light most favorable to them, it's an oversight, a bad oversight for thousands of dollars. In a light least favorable to them, it's that they chose to cavalierly spend the taxpayers' money on wasteful hotel rooms. It's a bad look.
Now fired OPSO Chief Financial Officer David Trautenberg was also interviewed by investigators. He told investigators he brought his concerns surrounding the rooms to Sheriff Hutson herself. He says Hutson said she was told by Morales the NOPD and LSP had rooms for their staffs, a claim refuted in the report by at least NOPD. Trautenberg filed a civil lawsuit against Hutson last week, alleging retaliation and illegal workplace discrimination after being fired back in March because, he says, he blew the whistle. Trautenberg's attorney told Fox 8 Trautenberg appreciates the, quote, hard work to bring transparency and accountability to these important public spending issues by OPSO.
Civil discovery is a more open process in some ways, as not like Fifth Amendment rights, etc. They found out some things that other people have access to, and they may find out more.
David Jones, Fox 8, Local First.
A statement tonight from the sheriff's office says in part, quote, "We disagree with the IG's characterization of our effort to keep residents and visitors safe by providing hotel rooms for our officers, providing security at Mardi Gras. The safety of our citizens is always paramount. OPSO believes we identified a suitable way to provide the housing, but the IG has disagreed." The report recommends OPSO look for a new purchasing system to improve transparency. A spokesperson says a request for proposals has gone out for the agency to acquire a new software package.